Check, check, check. Okay. Yo, what up? What up? You know what it is. It's your boy Kamal Hart. We're back on the charts and we're going bar by bar. Pretty solid week for me. And I just wanted to cover, just some of the basics. So let's jump in it. Looking at the pre-market, we're going to get started around about 5:53. A pretty obvious uptrend, a couple bounces off that EMA. Now, getting this channel isn't exactly super obvious. You get a little bit of a break here, but I would hardly call that convincing. And then on the upper side, if you go all the way to the highs, I don't think that really fits well. But if you clip a little bit of that high and maybe a little bit of that other one as well, I kind of like this the most. So we get like two breakout sides of our channel. It's a little it's a little sketchy what to expect after something like that. I think typically what you would expect is that on this side, we would break out the same amount. I wouldn't say we broke out the same, but we did break out a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward on the day. So from here, we're at the highs. Pretty much, let's see if we can get back to this EMA and buy it, or if we break outside, we can sort of get a play on the retest or something like that. That's the first entry. We're going to wait for something a little more clear and see how we're closing below the CMA. Just got to kind of wait and see what that ends up meaning. Here, the first entry triggers, but that's not the signal bar we want. We get that push down, and here we get a second entry. Now, the tricky thing about this play right here is that if we look at that EMA and price in general, you can see how flat prices have been since the pre-market. And so if I was to put something like this on the chart, you would see that you're kind of going long on this upper half. It is a second entry long, but it's a little unfair because I can see where the market opened. But I wouldn't want to buy above this bar. Maybe we can get a little lower. I might buy that, but not above that bar. So it turns out that we actually don't break above. See, like here, I'm kind of interested to buy this, but now we're starting to get two legs down. We're definitely below the EMA. You're going to be buying into the EMA. So it just depends on how aggressive you are, whether you would buy this. But this, the break above, is a second entry. We still don't break above, and we get this little inside bar. At this point, I'm a little too sketched out. And in fact, what ends up happening is that we get almost like a breakout pullback of the range off this high, our first entry, and then that second entry, it fails. This would be a lot better if this bar actually closed below this these inside bars, and particularly the outside bar. So since it didn't close below that bar, we just need to kind of sit on our hands and see where prices are going to go. Um, okay, and then we start to get this move lower. So from here, I'd be looking for something. I'd probably start it from here. You could probably find it off those very highs, but sometimes they aren't as accurate. And if we do, we can just build out. So if this ends up not really helping us, we'll just build out from there. But this should probably get us where we need. So let's just see how we play off of this area. Right there, we got like a first entry to these lows. We're starting to break outside. And then here's a second entry short. Like I like trading this, but the signal bar is this green bar. This red bar is an inside bar. So you really, it's not quite insistent to short below this, but at the same time, it's kind of two legs to the EMA. First leg, second leg, we're getting resistance at the EMA. You might even um, measure this and say, okay, maybe that's leg one, and there's potentially a second leg somewhere down there. But like I said, this setup isn't quite the right setup to take, so it'd be skipped. Skip that trade. It works pretty well. That's just how it goes sometimes. And see how we're getting another sort of another bounce. Now I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to expand this and see, okay, maybe we can get a couple touches. And right there we can get 3 touches. So it looks like there's going to be an even bigger channel working lower. Ideally, we can get like a second entry short, or if we can get past the swing, because technically there's a swing low there. So this could be our new high. So we could probably trade like a lower high off our trend line. Um, Inside bar, this is the signal bar. You can't short below this. You'd have to short below the green bar. So we're just waiting. That looks really good, but again, it's another inside bar. Gotta just wait it out. Here's the second entry short, but again, the signal bar is not that great. So, if you're being aggressive, some aggressive traders are going to short, particularly this bar, I think would be okay. But here, that's a little too aggressive. Works pretty well, but it's a little too aggressive. But it is a second entry short. So if you're reading this price action and you have the um, risk on the day to take that, maybe, but I'd rather just wait for the right setup. It'll come eventually. And we could even look at this now and say, is it possible that we have one big leg there? And so basically, this whole move is leg one. We break outside of our channel. So possibly there's a leg two that gets us down here. If we look at the overall pre-market, we're pretty much just kind of correcting off um, this bigger trend. So let's see where that kind of gets us. We get a nice push up. So here is a off this high. That was the lower high, and this would be a failed second entry. So here's where I might consider going short. There's some things that are concerning about that, mainly that on our smaller trend, we had a breakout side, 2 legs down. On our bigger trend, we had a breakout side and 1 leg down. So that makes going short sketchy. But I do like that it's a failed second entry and that we're getting resistance at the um, EMA. I would probably go short here. I don't know how this trade actually plays out though. So it doesn't trigger, but this bar broke a little bit above without going below, so the trade is still active. It still hasn't triggered. It's an inside bar. Um, this starts to get a little advanced because you can see that we are going sideways right through here, but a lot of the price action is still kind of trending lower. What I would do is I would still have my stop order 1 tick below this outside bar. It's a little big, so you would maybe let it break lower and then put your limit order back in here so you can cover the price, the candlestick correctly. But I'm still down to go short here. And then boom, right there, we get a nice move right through there. That should be more than enough for your scalps. 1725 to 13. Yeah, that's plenty for your scalps. And then I don't want to go short anymore. We already had the failed second entry. We're definitely have a breakout side, 2 legs down. Let's just wait and see what else we can get. Once again, we're just gonna wait. Here we get a higher low engulfing bar. Not a super strong case to just buy here. Um, we are starting to get some double bottoms or matching lows. You got this one, a second one, a third, and a fourth one. So if we shoot off, then maybe we're dealing with some kind of range, or we're going to go test these highs from this earlier bull trend. Just a lot of stack up, a lot of sideways movement. And then here's that reversal pattern. I like this one because on a smaller scale, two legs down, we have a close above the EMA. So already you should be thinking that there's some kind of trend line through there. And then right there, that's just a failed second entry short off this low. First attempt to go lower, second attempt to go lower. I'm pretty cool going long there. It's a little congestive, but the overall narrative, um, if this bull leg is, I mean, there's definitely a trend, but if our price action theory is going to hold up, we will probably try to test these highs. So I'm cool buying that one right there. That was probably the easiest trade today. That's a really easy trade. And then look where we get support. This is kind of a weird trade because it is it's just a higher low, not in the traditional sense of a higher low, but the bar is also 3 points and a quarter. So I wouldn't want to put a stop above that bar. You'd have to let it break and then get a limit order back in here or something. So for that reason, purely because of the size of the bar, I'd probably skip this trade. Um, yeah, I'd probably skip that trade. And then here we get like a setup for a second entry, but we're going sideways again. I would just kind of hang tight for a second. Um, it's a little tough to tell where we're going. I'm expecting some sort of test of the highs, but we just got to kind of play it by ear. And then it's pretty obvious how congested and sideways the price is at this point. So you could draw like a little congestion zone just to visualize what's going on. And then there we get that second entry triggers, but it doesn't even close above. That's a big sign already that it's not quite a good trade. If that congestion didn't keep you out, the fact that it went above and then couldn't stay above, that's not a good look at all. And then it seemed it. Oh my gosh, it fails quickly, stops out your stops there. Anyone who entered there, I don't know why you would have entered there though. It would have stopped you out regardless. So now we're kind of looking at the price action, wondering where are we going from here? Um, I don't have the exact answer, obviously, but what we can do is say, since we have this congestion zone, this is a breakout. If we get a setup like a higher low, we can fade that back to the breakout area. Or if we break above and fail, then we can draw some sort of micro trend going down and start looking for shorts. So here's like a nice bullish bar. I don't think it's good enough yet. We'd want to wait on like a higher low in this situation. More congestion. Okay, definitely more congestion. So it just depends on how you want to play it. If we're going to use this, let's say that we broke out. Now we're just waiting to see if we're going to actually make it up to the breakout point. But none of these bars actually close below the previous bar. So it's too early to say that it's a downtrend as well. So typically what I do is if we kind of do the stair step like congestion zone thing, I would just draw another one and that'll help me visualize moving forward. I would just draw it like that. And so now we're going to do the same idea. We're going to wait for the breakout pullback on either side of this zone. Once again, we break out to the low side. Then we get a nice strong bullish bar. You can't trade this off the highs. It's not really anything. If you understand how the ranges work, sometimes you can buy dojis at the extremes of the ranges. That's going to be an aggressive trade. You have to really have some insight. But one thing that I'm a little late on at this point is there's definitely some sort of support here. Maybe I'm not late, but I would start to look at it kind of like this. It looks like there's some support there. We can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. There's some sort of support. And I would just bring my line back to the highs, probably in here. I could argue maybe even a little lower, but let's kind of keep it up here. And I'd say, okay, for now, it looks like we might be dealing with some kind of range that looks like that. And let's see if we can get a midline in. That'll help us know when to stop going long and when to start thinking about shorts. Let's just change that real quick. So there we go. Let's see if we can buy trades down in here, and we're going to be trying to sell trades up through there. So we get that breakout to the high side. We don't close above that midline. We get this pullback. No setup. We're just looking to see if we can get a setup long. The next setup we're going to get is a higher low. So the next bar that breaks above will basically trigger the higher low, but we're going to need a good signal bar. That doesn't break above, so we're good. Here, it's not a great signal bar. It does close a little closer to the higher third, but the signal bar isn't amazing in my opinion. But I would still be okay buying that as well. I'd be okay buying above this bar. And really what we're just trying to do is off this low, um, that's our first bar. That's just a higher low trade. And we're just going to see if we can test the midline and maybe even test the high side. We break above. I don't like how it didn't close above, but at this point, your stop should just be below that signal bar at 39.1725. And then that gets you your scalp. So you would have survived that trade. Like I said, not a great signal bar, but if you're looking at the context of the market, you should be able to get into that trade no problem. At this point, also, you might consider drawing a breakout trend. So there might be a trend like that. So if we break outside and can get back below this midline, you might even buy again, and that will be our failed second entry short. But gotta be like, see right here, see that's amazing. It worked exactly the way we would want it. Um, it's a little aggressive, but it's surprising how often this works. Just because the fact that you're buying below this midline, you have EMA support, that's a good signal bar. It's a little large, maybe by a tick, but that's not too bad. Once the price action or once the signal bars get like 2.50, 2.75, that's when I start thinking about maybe I shouldn't take this trade. But like 2 points and a quarter, that's not too bad. So I would just buy one tick above there, or I put a limit order once it breaks above and try to get in at that high. Once again, not the best sign, honestly, but at this point, your stop is at 39.1950, and let's see if we can survive. Get a little pushback, pretty scary. This is one of those crazy trades where if you have your stop in the right place, you don't get stopped out. You get really close to it though. But I mean, if you set and forget, you should be okay. And there it goes. And that's what we'd expect, right? A breakout trend, two legs back, and we're testing these highs. Off these three lows, swing lows, we could start to draw, there's some sort of channel through there. I'd probably say it's a little bit more through here. So this would probably be our channel. So let's see if we can work this channel. The thing about this channel, it really won't help us much because once we get above the midline, I don't think it's a great idea to buy anymore. Um, but what we'll want to do is just kind of see how that plays out. Get a little push lower. See, like this bar right here. I don't really think I would buy this. It's just a first entry to the high. It's an engulfing bull bar. It's okay, but it's just aggressive. We're in the middle of a range. It's not a good place to get too aggressive with these types of trades. Let's see if we can get up here and short it. That would have worked, but you can't really know that before the fact. Um, we don't quite make it to those highs, but here's kind of an interesting thing. Off this high, we have a first entry fails and a second entry that if we break below here, that's a failure. At this point though, I would say let's move the range down. You could see that we still have some touches here. This might have just been like a false breakout. So at this point, we still have some resistance up here. And then that, of course, would move our midline down. I'll just move the midline down probably about here. Something like that. So I'll probably just tighten the range just a little bit. A key point is that when you're in a range and you draw a wide channel, when we get to the other side of that range, we don't necessarily break outside and retest the highs. Once we get to that other side of the range, if you get a setup outside of your channel in the upper half, I would go ahead and take that trade and just look for a play to the midline. So on this play, I like this short right here. Um, of course, I know some of the trades because of, I was trading this morning, but that's why I try my best to like really explain my ideas. And if you go back on all of my videos, I explain the same ideas over and over and over. So, anyone can say, oh, you know what's coming, da, 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 but, just go back and listen to the videos. And I explain it over and over on different markets. I won't lie, it's hard to do this in real time. It's not that it's hard to do this in real time. It's that you do a lot of stupid shit in between in real time. But if you can just wait for the right sort of trades, it's not too hard to pick out the trades. It's just, people are buying this one, for whatever reason, you buy this and it fails, or you try to sell a dumb trade in here or something like that. But that's a good trade. Get your scalp. And that's pretty much 8:44. So that's the first 2 hours of the open. On a day like today, if you already got 5 decent trades, I don't see why you would stick around much longer. And then of course, since we get that reversal pattern, you could just draw like a micro trend through there. And that's a key difference. Like with these wide channels, you don't necessarily get the breakout side extreme retest. But on these like breakout channels and tight channels, sometimes you do. So let's see if we get that here. See how we came back to that line and just turned off it? That's a good sign. Again, another turn down, but it's starting to get too aggressive to short through here. We're just going to run through the price action real quick just to see kind of how the day goes, like we always do. Once we start to get below this range, What I'm looking for now is a breakout pullback of the range. So like the next bar that can close below this green bar, I'm going to draw a new line. So this is a red bar, but notice how it doesn't close below. It did break it, but it didn't close. That's not enough. I want to see it close. Maybe the next bar will. See, none of these bars actually close below. So for now, turns out that if you just extend this, that ends up working out anyway. And then there we finally get that move down the original um, off the original trend line. None of these trades you really could have traded. There's a second entry short right there. If you're being aggressive, you might trade that, but the signal bar, you're kind of, I don't know, you're kind of, that's not really a good habit doing that. It worked this time, but that might not be a good habit. And, you're not really off the EMA. We haven't touched the EMA for like, I don't know, 15 bars or something. So, not a great trade, even though it shoots off. And that's what I got for today. Um, I like to do the first 2 hours. I don't really need to trade much more past that. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Um, I don't really see anything that would have trapped you. I think maybe this trade might have been hard to take real time if you don't understand how to trade the ranges. But all the other trades to me, pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward. And don't be afraid to just like you got to switch up your lines, like when you see that we're coming up short on the high side, then, switch up your lines. Nothing is static. Everything is in constant motion, so it's okay to kind of adjust. But what I would try to do is that just make sure that it's following your expectations if you're going to take a trade. So, I wish I could make a really good example. It's hard to think of it on the spot. But yeah, if you draw like a breakout trend and then it just like goes below the EMA and goes below the origin point and then gives you a nice bull bar, it's not really following expectations. So you can't play that trade the same way. So as long as price action is following the expectations, then you should feel confident taking at least this trade and maybe that one. But yeah, it's a little long-winded. I don't want to be long-winded today. So let's just kind of see what else happens throughout the day. As we break out lower, we're kind of trying to decide, okay, where are we going? What I would do as well is I would measure our first range. I would say, okay, range one, I'd use the midline, and that kind of gets us right there. So possibly there's like a two-tiered thing going on. I'd be curious what happens in this area if this actually becomes support. And you can see we actually we do get some kind of support there. You get a higher low, not a great signal, but I think that's barely enough for a scalp. And if you hold your stop where it's supposed to go, you get enough on that swing. And then you get another higher low there. You could have traded that. And then you get a failed second entry right there. You could have traded that as well. You don't get much though. So, you really gotta, it's not a swing trade. Only your runners are swing trades. For your scalp portion, just make sure you scalp and you bring your stop to break even after you achieve the scalp. Um, but yeah, so notice how when you measure that range, that's basically where we got some of that support. You could probably fine tune it like a little bit, maybe there, but generally that gets you in the right area. And so you would have known like this is probably a decent buy. You could maybe buy that, and then I'd buy this one and that one. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got today. See, once again, we kind of do a failed break lower, buy the higher low, buy the failed second entry, boom, boom. spotting some of these trades aren't too hard. The main thing is just don't do stupid stuff in between good trades. That's really the key to this stuff. So yeah, February February video. Here it is. Any questions? Throw them in the comments. I'm available. Hopefully y'all had a good trading week, and we'll be back next week. So good luck, guys, and see y'all later. Peace.